Well, hey there, folks. It is Monday, so happy Monday to you guys. Yeah, we just keep starting a little later in the middle of some things right now, and I'm like, oh God, I got to start this stream, and I'm still working on getting some things ready for my first class today. So if you're here for my first class, I'm still throwing some things together. It'll be done in the next couple minutes because I'm almost there. Um, but then I was thinking, well, I got to get this stream going. I got to talk about something. And what am I going to talk about? I'm like, I'm working on something that I can talk about. So, what I've got going right now, I wanted to sort of peel back the skin a little bit and show you guys some of the stuff that I work on for grading projects. And grading is always. It's my least favorite part of the job. I don't like grading people's work. I don't like grading. I don't like grading assignments. It's the least fun. It's the least amount of fun. But some ways that we deal with that is one of the best ways, I think, is using rubrics. So if you're not familiar with, let's see, 7.1, there we go. Got to give this a title here. Wall framing. So if you're not familiar with the concept of rubrics, it's basically a way to sort of break down a score for a project. And that's really all it is. It's nothing fancy, not like a particular type of system. Oh, not the... Let's see, what's today, the 19th? Okay, yeah, so it'll be due the 21st by midnight. Okay. So it's not any particular criteria, but it's a set of criteria that can be broken down into point totals or whatever you want the reward to be. And it can be as holistic or as granular as you want it to be. So here's one that I'm working on, and it isn't actually woodworking joinery. This is we are working on wall framing. This just hasn't updated its name yet. So the students have to sketch up, model basically what I showed them last week, and I'm giving them an image example of this. I'll show you guys in a second. But they have to basically model a wall, a 2x4 stud wall in SketchUp. And so some of the requirements, the criteria that I have on here is out of 100 points total. So we're learning about 16-inch on-center stud spacing for a 2x4 standard 2x4 wall. Of course, California now they're going to 2x6s and 24-inch stud spacing, but that's a different issue. So traditional 16-inch on-center. So basically, the criterion is that all the studs are spaced 16-inch on center except for one end, because it's a 10-foot wall, and one of them's going to be kind of in the middle a little bit. If you've done any framing, you know what I'm talking about. So this particular unit is 10 points. And so for 10 points, I just called this all. So they basically got 100%. They got an A+. They did everything correctly. Studs are spaced 16 inches on center except for one end. It's just, hey, you met the criteria. Good job. It's half credit. I like to give half and partial credit for, they kind of got it. They kind of were getting in the right direction, but they didn't quite make that target. So I have half credit on here. Sometimes I can do like 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, depending on how I feel. The criteria, how much of the criteria was met, and I can also enter individual scores for these items too. Like so. It can be 5, but I can enter a 6 or a 7 if I want to. So 5 even. So I'm thinking of scenarios like, well, what if a kid gets all of the stud spaces even, like actually makes an attempt to keep them spaced evenly, but it's not 16 inches. Maybe they do it 15 inches or 24 inches accidentally. In that case, they should get some credit for trying to even them out and make it, sturdy and presentable and all that stuff. But they didn't quite get it. And then 0 points for, hey, you just threw some studs wherever and you didn't care, you didn't pay attention to the lesson. But that's just one criteria. So 10 points out of 100, even if they miss this item, it's not really the end of the world. It's only 10 points. That's if you get everything else in the assignment. If you hit all those other criteria, you're only down to a 90%, which is still an A-. So, what's nice about these rubrics is leaving that room so that a student they can screw up one aspect of their project and still do okay in the rest of the project. So let's look at the rest of these. There's another 10 points out of 100, 2x4 dimensions. So they're actually going to have, I'm not giving them any components, existing components. They've got to model it themselves. We've been doing SketchUp all year, so they know how to push pull a rectangle or dimension a rectangle and push pull it to a certain length. So 2x4s, as you may be aware, are not 2 inches by 4 inches. They're 1.5 by 3.5 inches in dimensions. So again, I have all, even, and then none. So this one they made it into components. They're properly sized. The components are all uniform, but not properly sized. And then you didn't even try. One thing that I'm not having this explicit in here, but I may adjust this is I'm thinking if the students make the properly sized 2x4, but they don't turn it into a component, because that is one of the aspects of this assignment is that they have to use components. Now this one I'm still working on. Talking and typing is not something that I am super great at. So at the same time, actually I'll make that 0. I'm just going to keep it simple. So some labels, no labels. Got to get rid of this one. So basically what I did was just copied copied an existing assignment. That's why this says project 6. Come on, double click labels. And so that makes it a little bit easier. I don't have to retype everything. I just kind of reorder things and change some of the items. Okay, yeah, no labels. No labels. That's pretty self-explanatory. You didn't put labels on anything. So then here's where I feel like there was something else that I wanted to do. Yeah, I actually wanted to make this. I wanted to make everything into components, or yeah, you know what? I want to. Yeah, there is something I want to do with this. Duplicate. All right, so actually we're going to make, I know I said components. I was going to do that in the last one, but actually, there we go. We'll do 5, 3, and 0. So I got labels down here. We'll also do this one, 5, 3, and 0. We're going to change this to components. I probably should have just copied and pasted, but that's okay. All, let's see, all parts are made into components. I know my capitalizations are not super great. I just capitalize random things. Okay. So here we go. So I wanted to keep it as 100 points. So I had to split that into 5, and really labels and components, like that's not that impressive if you get those right. I mean, it's at this point, but I still want to make sure it's part of the requirement. All right. So now we basically split that, and I did what I said I was going to do in the other section, and made components a 5-point section. That's basically just all parts are made into components. So when you're working in SketchUp, if you're not familiar with that, you can make a piece of geometry, but then you've got to select it and then make it into a component. And then that way, if you copy that piece, you can reuse it, but then it gets to a point where you can edit them. So these are all made into components, and so I can copy them just like the whole things. And then if I edit one of these, like let's say I decide I want to shorten one of these, then it's going to shorten all of them because they are all linked together. But that's a SketchUp lesson. And I'm not going to worry about that. So yeah, this is basically what we're doing. I'm going to have, we did this, I demonstrated this last week in class. And actually we went a little bit further than this, but basically I've given the students some pictures of this, some still pictures of this. So they can't like, just turn in a file that I've already done. They're going to have to model this up. So they have a view that's kind of like this, and then another view that's, I think I gave them like a top-down view with the dimensions, and it's going to be their job to figure out, how to replicate this in SketchUp, which they should know how to do. But again, that's what the rubric is for. That allows me, when I'm grading, I can look at the work that they did, and then, it makes it so I don't have to think as much about it. It's a little more standardized too. So if a student wants to know what the expectations are ahead of time, so that they're like, all right, there's not going to be any surprises. If I make this project exactly like the rubric is saying, then I'm going to get X amount of points. And that's not every kid looks at it that way, because, who reads the manuals, right? But there's at least the possibility there. If any student wanted to know what grade that they were going to get, there's no mystery. It's not arbitrary. It's not some teacher saying, oh yeah, this looks like an A project maybe, and this looks like a B project. It's all right here. Any student can look at it and just be like, all right, this is exactly the grade that I earned on this because of X, Y, and Z. Now for all this distance learning stuff, I actually really like this grading technique that I use. I also do it for projects outside of distance learning. Is basically, if you're turning a project in on time, you're almost always going to get at least a C-. Of course, I teach a woodshop class, so it's an elective. It's it is what it is. But I usually give a C- so that I mean my feeling is, you did the project, you got it turned in. That's the passing grade. You put in some work, you did the bare minimum that I asked you to do. You didn't excel at anything, but hey, you learned something, you got it there. And one thing that I don't want to do is discourage kids from turning things in. If you start taking too much credit off, like, oh, it's only half credit if it's late. I understand the want to do that, but it's also very discouraging. And, kids start getting in their heads that, well, it's only worth half of what it was. So that I might as well, I'm only going to get an F on it, so I might as well not not do that, which we know is a fallacy because a 50% is better than a 0, but psychologically it doesn't work that way. So usually out of 100 points, I will make just turning it on time worth 70. And then all the rest of this grade, the rest of the 30% is just going from a C- to an A+. Now, if they turn it in late, my policy for distance learning has been 20% off. So that's why this is a 50. So basically, if they got everything else correct, instead of an A+, they would have a C+, which is still a passing grade. And they can still turn in late work that's good, that has had effort put into it, and still get a passing grade out of it. So it's not like a 50% or lower than that. But that's my policy. It's been working for me really well. It lets kids get caught up on things. Distance learning has been hard on everyone. So just making sure that they have that chance that opportunity to do what needs to get done. Yeah. So that's what I have been working on. And actually, I just finished that. So let's go ahead and save that. Just wait for it to save. There we go. Everything else checks out. April 21st is going to be due Wednesday for the students, so they don't have an infinite amount of time. They have some pictures here. I got I'm just double checking because I can't, I can go back and change it, but it gets really annoying to do so. All right, we're going to put that for all the classes. I don't meet all my classes today, but some kids like doing it a little bit early, those who will meet tomorrow. So I think we're good. So we'll go ahead and assign that. And then we just wait for Google Classroom to do its thing. Yeah, so that is peeling back a little bit of the curtain of how I grade. It's, I don't like grading. It's not something that I enjoy doing. I don't know a lot of teachers who enjoy grading. Well, maybe some do who really get into some really creative assignments. But for me, it feels like the kids learn a lot more by just, the simple fact of doing. And at the end of the day, I don't care too much about their grade. They care about their grade. Their parents care about their grade. But for me, it's like, hey, you came into my class, you learned some stuff, and you're going to leave. If you learned a lot, then you can do something with it. If you didn't learn a lot, then, well, find another pastime, I guess, because woodworking's not it. Anyway, all right, I got to get this class started here in a couple of minutes. So y'all have a good time and stay safe and happy Monday. And I'll see y'all tomorrow.